It's time for the best of 2021. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads. As always, guys, I am Andrew, and today I got my top 10 books that I read in 2021 for you. But before we get to that list, make sure you're liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, make sure to check the description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as all the links to my social media and information about my Patreon. That said, guys, this one was difficult to do. I have read around, I think, 126 books last I checked. We've still got about 2 days left in the year, and I can only fit, like, one more book in. And that's if I do it on audio and I listen really, really fast. And, guys, like, that one's just not going to make the list. I already know which one I've selected, and I've already started that one, and it's good, but it's not mind-blowing. So these are the top 10. I did have to eke in a couple honorable mentions just because I couldn't narrow it down that far. It was difficult. I am still planning on doing, you know what, I'll leave this up to you guys. I'm still planning on doing a top 10 Q4, but I don't know if that's too many top 10 lists. So let me know in the comments section down below if you want to see a Q4 top 10. Of course, it is end of the year, so it's year in review, top 10 books I read, books I'm looking forward to, best series, things of that nature. It's kind of that end of year content, and I didn't realize quite how much of it there was to do. So without any further ado, let's just kind of jump into the honorable mentions first. Alright, so I've got 2 honorable mentions here, and one of these I just recently finished, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's beautifully technically written and very, very intricate, but it's something that I know isn't for everybody. And that's going to be the first 2 books in Long Price Quartet. And this is an omnibus edition of Shadow and Winter and a Betrayal in Summer? I think I've got that wrong. Shadow and Summer, Betrayal in Winter. I don't know what my brain just did. This book is so intricate, and the relationships and the planning that went into this series is absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it if you love very character-focused stories with a lot of political intrigue that is very minute and very, very detailed and planned. Yes, Long Price Quartet is in it for the win, so it gets an honorable mention. Alright, another honorable mention is the book that got me back into Stephen King, and that is Stephen King's It. The reason this is an honorable mention is it is a hair long. It is very, very graphic with its language and its themes, and it's just strong content, and there's those 10 pages at the end that we don't really need to get into. But, yeah, Stephen King, it was an absolute delight. I loved this book so much, and it really did reignite my love for Stephen King, and now I've got pretty much a whole shelf upstairs on my overflow shelf that's just Stephen King. So it gets an honorable mention. Alright, so this is a little bit of ground rules here before we jump into the actual top 10. These are not books that were released in 2021. These are books that I read in 2021. Also, there will be no novellas making this list because I have read some amazing novellas. And I don't have room on a top 10 list to really force that in. So let's jump right on in with the number 10. And these are, by the way, I think, like, now I'm second guessing myself. These are ranked in terms of, like, my level of enjoyment as of right now. And, like, literally, I was sitting there just, okay, I think that one goes there and that one goes there. I could be completely wrong, and literally, depending on the day that you ask me, I could change my answer. But these will all make the 2021 top 10. So, okay, now let's do Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This set, specifically, these 2, were, I think, out of Revelations, my most enjoyable. I really got the camaraderie of Royce and Hadrian, and the bicker and the verbal banter was exquisite in this entry. I really, really enjoyed it. This is before the series kind of takes off in Rise of Empire and Heir of Navron. And in those, like, you know, it kind of starts exploring more themes. In here, we were just having fun getting to know Royce and Hadrian. And it was just a rollicking, good adventure. It's a solid fantasy, very enjoyable, and it's got some hints to the later books. But really, like, if this had been just a standalone, and this is all we got, I'd have been perfectly happy. Like, I would have had zero complaints at all with that. This was very, very enjoyable. If the series had just remained a duology, because I keep forgetting that this is a bind-up of 2 books. But very good. That goes to Theft of Swords. In the number 10 spot. Coming in at number 9. And I had to think about this one. And there's a couple things in here that didn't quite sit well with me. But overall, a fantastic story. And I gotta thank Alan and Joanna for this. Because Alan gave me the rec and Joanna buddy read this with me. And that's Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is the book that made me think, maybe I do want to give historical fiction a chance. Because this is like very light. It's got a sprinkling of fantasy. Like, it's in a fantastical setting. And there are like wizards, but they're like over there. Like, they don't really ever get up in your face. And when they're doing magic, like, you maybe see like one magic battle. And you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then it just kind of moves on. This is more like Napoleonic era, like boots on the ground soldiers, drafts, warfare, a little bit of Band of Brothers, just very, very, very good. And a protagonist, a female protagonist that kills it. I love Emily Marshwick. I loved reading about her, and I'm frankly, as a standalone, I think this is the only standalone to make the list. Yes. There was another standalone, but it got expanded on. So, Guns of the Dawn, Adrian Tchaikovsky, one of the best books I read this year. All right, now this one, like, I'm super excited that, like, there's some self-pub on this list because I'm really looking to, like, jump more into self-pub in 2022. This one is Zach Argyle's Stones of Light. And this one makes the list because Voice of War was good. Stones of Light killed it. I love when a book, or specifically a sequel, takes what was established and then evolves it and progresses the story even further, and then brings a lot of things into focus. You get some cool twists, some cool reveals. Chris and just everybody in this, like, the trials and tribulations that some of these people go through is, like, even right here on the cover, it says a flawless sequel. And I have to agree, because not only is the narrator Adam Gold fantastic, but what Zach pulls off in this, like, I think book 3 was one of my most anticipated books of 2022, just because of how good Stones of Light was. Like, I'm flabbergasted. I don't really want to talk too much about it because this is a sequel and not an initial book, but, I mean, it is rare. Like, this was like the Empire Strikes Back, where, like, the sequel is just even better than the original. And I really, really loved it. I can't wait. I'm so excited for book 3. Like, I need it, and I need it now. Alright, and this is where, like, it starts getting difficult, because I loved this book. And I'm even acknowledged in the back of this book. And it still only makes, let's see, I think this is, what, I lost my spot. So if that was 10, 9, 8, this is number 7. I can count, I got excited. It's Daniel Barnett's Lily. I'm actually acknowledged in the acknowledgements along with my BookTube big sister Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, which I found that out today randomly. Like, I got sent this arc and I was like, oh, cool. Daniel sent me an arc and I got like an advanced copy, and I need to read this one because changes were made to the story. And so I want to make sure that I also read the updated version. But like, the arc that I got, like, you know, reading an arc twice, blew my mind. Like, just the payoff in book 6 of the Nightmare Land Chronicles, just, it slaps so hard. As my buddy Narso would say, this is just based. And I don't even know what that means, but I think it means cool. Like, this was such a cool entry to see the evolution of the character arcs and everything. I loved this. And I cannot wait for the second half of the story in the next 6 entries. Daniel Barnett is an author that I am going to be following for his entire career. I loved this. It was fantastic. Alright, so if that was number 7, we're moving on to the number 6 spot. And the number 6 spot, I had to think about this one because I was going to put the first book in this trilogy, and then I decided to instead do the third book. And that's Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. This is the third book in the Tiny Man trilogy. And the reason I chose this one is because this could have easily been the final book in Realm of the Elderlings, and I would have been so pleased if it had been. Now, I'm currently reading the the Rainwild Chronicles, which is a very huge drop in quality so far for me. But this, if it had ended here, 10 out of 10. Guys, what Fitz goes through in this trilogy, and the self-discovery, and the revelations, and the little payoffs that have been sprinkled throughout the Realm of the Elderlings through 9 books. God, what? I know I keep saying, guys, like, I love it, but I love it. All of these books are pretty much 10 out of 10s. Like, I don't have any real complaints. And for that reason, like, it's so good. It's just good. I'm cheesing. I'm happy. And that takes us to number 5. And number 5, like, I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to cheat. So number 5 is going to be a dual kind of entry. Because I was like, okay, I've made my decision. I've chosen. No, I haven't. Like, I can't choose between these two books. Because I love them so much and they're so similar. That's going to be, the official entry on the list is Night Watch by Terry Pratchett. And the unofficial, which I should say is like an honorable mention, is Snuff by Terry Pratchett. This is books 6 and 8 of the City Watch collection in the Guards sub-series. But what these address is these are the ones where it kind of takes Sam Vimes. The later books kind of focus in more on Sam Vimes. And we kind of go off with him instead of, like, with Angua and Carrot and everything like that. Like, Sam is still very much the focus, but those other characters kind of pull some of the attention away. Here we really focus in on what drives him as a man, what he feels underneath, and the rage and his morals and everything that Sam Vimes stands for is really addressed in these two novels. This one is just, he discovers how much his family means to him. And this one, he discovers, again, how much his family means to him. But like using completely different scenarios in which to do it. Anger. Like, I love when Sam Vimes gets angry, because then Sam Vimes really shows his soul. And that's addressed here in these two books. And I want to say that it's Night Watch that takes the spot, but I mean, I love Snuff just as much. So now that I've cheated a little bit, we are at our top 4. And this one, it was difficult because the follow-up to this one wasn't as good. But if this had stayed as a standalone, this might have taken the top spot. That's Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. Valen Alsorna is just such a cool character. And when we get to focus on him, the battle school and the magic system and the beautifully technical writing that is just in this story. And what I love about it, specifically, is it's dark, but at the same time, it doesn't sacrifice the narrative to push a dark agenda. It's just naturally dark. And for that reason, like, we get to see this very, very cruel battle school. Almost, I have not read any Dark Academia, but if you want a Dark Academia for adults, like that first 30% that we stay in the battle school in this book, fantastic. Flawless. What they go through in the Sixth Order is just so cool. And this was pretty much a flawless book. Anything from here on, pretty much a flawless book in my opinion. So Bloodsong takes the number 4 slot. Now this one, I didn't want to inundate this list with a bunch of Cradle books, which now you know it's going to be a Cradle book. And then I was like, what line sticks out to me the most in the series? And what is the best character study that we can kind of get of Lyndon? And I settled on book 8, and that's Winter's Steel. And, like, don't get me wrong, Bloodline is fantastic, and I really enjoyed Reaper as well. But the line, "It's about points," just won't leave my head. And so for that reason, like, Winter Steel is kind of where it's for the first time we separate Lyndon from Yaren, because, you know, of the events that take place within the series, they are kind of separated due to circumstance. And he has to go and kind of figure out how to advance on his own. And it's really, really interesting because now it's just Lyndon and Dross, and Lyndon on a battlefield, and just the payoff of the Uncrowned Tournament. All very good themes in this book. I don't want to speak too much on it. This is book 8, and if I talk too much, I might spoil something. But Cradle was going to make the list. And if I had to choose a book from Cradle, it was either going to be Black Flame or it was going to be Winter Steel, and we went with Winter Steel. All right, top 2. We are at the top 2 spots. This shouldn't come as a surprise. This is I think this is my most gifted book that I have literally, whenever my friends are like, oh, it's my birthday, I'm like, great, if this is on your list, this is what you're getting. Because I love this book so much. It is book 1 of the Dark Water Legacy, The Ember Blade. Guys, this book was fantastic. This was, like, to me, a perfect blend of modern and classic fantasy that just swirled together to make almost an instant modern classic. The Cade and Aaron and their relationship and their friendship, I really love good friendships in books. And we get a lot of that here. Where we start out, like, the blurb on the back is very, like, I thought I understood what was going to happen in the blurb. No, this is a very long book. And so we get a lot of character progression. And I think the linchpin, what places this so high for me, is the fact that, like, the friendship that we get between Cade and Aaron is like, oh, they're village boys, and they're, like, friends. And then, like, you know, circumstances, and then their friendship kind of fractures and breaks, and then they spend time kind of reconciling and mending, and then forging that friendship into something believable and real and heartfelt. And I think for that reason, like, I absolutely love the Ember Blade. It's got a cool magic system. It's got a cool Gandalf-like character. I could go on and on and on about this book. It's got a really cool redemption arc on a character in here that I absolutely love. Again, I could go on and on and on. It's so good. It's so good. And it was so hard not to place this as the number 1. And the number 1 is going to surprise some people, I think, because I literally just finished this book. I literally just finished it, and I know what some people could say, that I possibly have some recency bias here. And I do have to preface that this is my book of the year, and it's not a flawless story. And I think that's a bit strange. And we've had a tumultuous relationship, me and this book. I've gotten mad at it, I've put it in timeout, and now it is finally in the bag. And that is going to be Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. There is a dedicated review coming out here soon. Guys, this book is amazing. Aram and Marcus are fantastic. Again, I love a good friendship. But specifically because Aram is on the spectrum. He is very much written to be autistic. And that somehow makes him different and sets him aside. And he's got insecurities about this. I am on the spectrum myself. And so I just identified so deeply with those insecurities that Aram has. And also, like, I feel like if, like, you know, growing up, I used to fantasize about, like, being a fantasy protagonist and what that would look like. And I don't think I could do a better job than Dragon Mage on making my thoughts and what I love and daydreamed about as a kid come alive here in Dragon Mage. M.L. Spencer basically reached inside my brain and just tore out what I believe fantasy is. And it's just so good. Now, is this book flawless? No. It does have a couple characterization issues. Like, they're kind of a little bit irregular. They don't always act the same. Sometimes, like, they just do some things that don't really work with their characterization. There's a couple pacing issues here. There's a couple things where I'm like, did that really need to happen? Did I need to have that character brought back just to lose them 5 pages later? But the training montages and the discovery of friendship and of love and of what's important and fighting for beliefs and growing into your power in 800 pages, guys, like, this was meant to be a standalone, and now we're getting a second book, and that second book is high priority on my TBR. This was an absolute delight for me. This is a very personal choice for me because as an individual on the spectrum and having to learn how to, certain social cues just don't click on a lot of the time. And that happens for Aram here, where, like, he misunderstands situations or just gets offended really easily or feels left out. And, like, having to figure out how to deal and develop coping mechanisms. I just identified so heavily with that. And for that reason, like, Dragon Mage it's an absolute delight, and I'm absolutely in love with this story. That said, guys, that is the top 10 plus honorable mentions plus one small cheat for 2021. Please let me know in the comments down below what your top 10 books this year was. I would love to get some great recommendations. Tell me why you love these books. Do you agree with my selection? Did you like my books? Did you not like my books? Let's have just a great discourse on the comments section down below. I'd love to chat with you. So till next time, guys, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.